So, what's the recipe for changing the world? That's the recipe that I've been looking for my whole life, and I know that all of us here have, and many, many, many people in the world are seeking. And we're looking for it because we know that there's so many huge problems, these enormous problems that seem so overwhelming, poverty and violence and climate change, and all of these things that feel like it's almost as if there's no solution at all. And if there is a solution, it's just so big, we'll never be able to figure it out. And that things are moving so rapidly that we're just not going to be able to do it in time. And when people ask me about my recipe for changing the world, they usually want a story about when I sat in a tree in Clackwood Sound for 3 days to protect it from logging, and when I led protests. And so today I've got a different story. I was sitting in a suburban parking lot of a hardware store near my house, and I had just dropped my kids off at summer camp, so I was delighted. It's like they had something to do, and I had my hands free for a while, and I had just run in and done some errands. And usually I hop right back out into the van and zoom off because I'm always doing. I have to, I've got a list, I've got to do my list. And for some reason, I just stopped. I was sitting in the middle, like in the middle of this, in my van, in the middle of this parking lot, surrounded by other vehicles, and I just thought, I need to stop for a minute. So I just sat there. I don't know, I was just thinking of nothing. And there was a little knock at the passenger window. And I looked over, and there was this older woman, and she was making this, please roll down your window. So I rolled down the window, and she said, can you give me a ride home? And I said, sure. And that's one of the things that I do in my recipe to change the world. I help people when they ask. I do little things. And you know what? If I had to go all cosmic on all of us here, I would say maybe I was waiting for her. She hopped in the van and we drove off. And it got me thinking about the fact that to me, as I go through my life as an activist and a mom and a coach and all of these things that I'm doing, the recipe for changing the world starts with the little things that we do every day. How we treat each other, how we treat others. Because those others are us. Acts of kindness, little acts of kindness. Helping somebody with their groceries, smiling at somebody as you walk by, talking to somebody who's cashing you out. Those little things build. We can't have the big actions without all of the little ones, all of the small things, all of the small magic that we can do every day. And if all of us knew the power of our small actions, we could change the world right now. And we are changing the world right now. But all of us feel we've been given this story that changing the world is all about big actions. We've got to jump off a smokestack with a banner, or we've got to, become prime minister or president, or we've got to do something big. And in fact, the magic is in the small. Our power is in the small, in the things that we do every day that honor ourselves and other people and other beings in the planet. And as I started to think about that as an activist, I realized that what people are waiting for is a big answer when we have all of the small ones right at our fingertips every day. So as I was driving along with Elizabeth, she was telling me a story. She was telling me a story about the fact that she used to be a very high-up manager in a bank, and that she had retired, and then she had had several small strokes. Her husband had passed away, and she was alone. And she had trouble getting back and forth to the store. And she was really grateful that I had picked her up. And I drove her home. It wasn't very far. And she thanked me, and she blessed me, and I went on my way. And I realized that's one of my superpowers. I'm an ordinary superhero. We are all ordinary superheroes. We have the ability to change the world with every interaction we have with other people, with other beings, and with the planet. And when we feel that connection that all of us have been talking about, when we deeply feel that connection to each other and to the planet, then we can really realize how easy it is to shift the way things are going now. There's a real power in understanding that kindness is a radical act. Radical kindness is the way that we're going to change the world. Because as we're radically kind to each other, and we're radically kind to the trees, and we're radically kind to our moms and dads, suddenly we realize we can feel that shift. You can feel that shift every time you do something kind, and it gets reflected back to you. So those little things bring up and support the big things. There are people that are going to be doing those big actions, and those big actions need to happen, but they aren't going to have a foundation unless we do the small. So my invitation to each of you is to remember your superpowers of kindness, your superpowers of attention, your superpowers of connection, and use them every day. And that is the way we're going to change the world. Thank you very much.